You guys ready for something real shocking and disgusting? Serpensa, China's revolting split oil and gutter oil. It will never go away. This video is going to make you want to cook at home and never go out to eat or never buy anything produced in a package or trust anybody whatsoever handling your food. Are you guys ready for this? If you haven't eaten yet, you might want to tune out. Oh, yeah, here we go.
This is gutter oil being collected. If you visited or lived in China, you have eaten gutter oil. What you see here is a restaurant worker straining out used chili oil from a trash can.
Bro.
This is being collected to be reused for the next customer who orders spicy hot pot.
I'm never going to China. I'm just gonna go and say it out loud, dude.
This man is confronted and asked, do you not have family you care about? I understand it's difficult to make money these days, but how would you feel if your elderly parents, your children, and relatives ate this poison? To which he replied, you're right. I'll be on my way. Gutter oil, or digoyo, is a huge issue in China, and it's a problem that hasn't gotten better. It's actually gotten worse. Here's the thing about gutter oil, okay? For those of you who are not familiar with gutter oil, this is something that is very, very common in China. And there are a couple of types. We're going to be talking about gutter oil and spittle oil, or I suppose you could say saliva oil are the two major ones.
What the
How is it
hell?
that we ever got to this point? Just trying to get some work done.
We've been trying to reach you
number in some cases. A lot of your the show. So gutter oil is when people take oil and sludge and grease and so on from the sewers, okay, or from grease traps outside of restaurants. Basically lift a manhole cover, dig in there, get the grease and the oil that's trapped in there, put it in buckets, take it off and sell it to a processing plant, which then goes and processes this oil into something that looks brand new. And it can be done. You know, they boil it and they strain it and they do all this stuff. And at the end of the day, they put it in a cooking oil bottle and it looks brand new as if you've bought it outside of the shop. And it's actually very difficult to tell, you know, by looking at it if it is legit or not. And then these are actually sold to restaurants and to people to use in their homes at a much discounted price. There's a lot of money to be made. And the reason for this is, of course, is that it's free. Okay? All it takes is a little bit of your time to go and dig this stuff out of the sewer and out of the manhole covers and from the gutters and so on, and then you can go and sell it, right? And then you're not even getting a lot of money. The collectors, by the way, aren't the ones making the digoyo. They just collect it and they take it to these little clandestine factories that spring up all over the place.
Jesus Christ.
And they just process it and then sell it for a big profit because...
Someone said China, 5,000 years of history to make gutter oil. Oh my God.
Think about it. You can sell it for half the cost of new oil, and you're still making a lot of money. So that's the gutter oil or digoyo, which ends up in your food a lot of the time. And this is a big problem in China because it makes its way into restaurants. Doesn't matter if they're fancy restaurants or low-end restaurants. It doesn't matter because all you need is a unscrupulous restaurant owner who wants to save a little bit of money. And there you've got cancerous, poisonous, very not good for human consumption oil being used to cook your food. And nobody will know because the effects are only long-term. So you can eat at the same restaurant for 10 years. You finally get cancer. You don't realize it came from the food from that restaurant because they're using gutter oil. And the second type of oil we're going to talk about is koushuiyo, or saliva oil, or spittle oil, or spit oil, I guess you could call it. And what this is it's very common in specifically restaurants that have some kind of a chili or a spicy hot pot dish. You know, hot pot in China is very, very popular, and that's when you get a broth or a soup and you boil it on the table, and you take bits of meat and vegetables and you dip it in the boiling hot soup and it cooks the meat and then you eat it. So when you're finished, you don't drink the soup. What's left there, the broth, which has got chili oil, if you got the spicy one, which is very popular in places like Sichuan, for instance. You've got that chili oil sitting there on the table. The waitress takes that away to the kitchen. And then what they do very often is they just right then and there take that same chili oil or that same broth and put it into a new one to go take out to someone else's table. So they're reusing this, the same oil and broth that somebody's been, sticking their spit in mouth and food.
Bro, can you imagine going to a restaurant, eating, you're done with your meal, but you didn't know that you're just eating the same broth the table before you was just finished. Who was eating the one the table before them was just finished with. Oh my God, dude. If you're feeling weak, if you want to go out to eat at a restaurant, if you're struggling to stick with your diet, send this video out. Watch it yourself and send this video out to somebody in the struggle right now. It's so much worse than we ever thought. It always is. It always is, dude.
Food and whatnot, and it's really disgusting because there you go, sit down in the restaurant, this brand new pot comes onto your table, but it's actually secondhand.
Secondhand, dude. It's like fucking fifth hand. DK, thanks, brother. It's not gutter oil. They're brewing skooma for NPC.
But of course, the reuse of chili oil is very common, and if you can't just quickly reuse it, some restaurants, in fact, quite a number of restaurants, if all this footage is to be believed, you'd simply go out into the trash and collect this chili oil from either their own restaurant where they've thrown stuff away or from competing restaurants. Because, hey, you don't have to...
I'm sorry, man. Come on. Bruh. Dude, how can you go in here as a human being and think this shit is okay? What is happening in China? Like this guy, after a shift at the restaurant, wanting to have quality food for his patrons, walks over to this nasty fucking trash can, dude. And he goes, let me scoop up this unholy mixture and I'm gonna serve it up to the people that are gracious enough to come to my place and eat in my fucking restaurant. Holy shit, dude. Wow.
Competing restaurants because, hey, you don't have to pay for chili oil if you can just dig it out of the trash. And it's very easy because, you've got these trash cans, as you can see here, and they're just full of slop, all the leftovers that's been thrown in there from the restaurants. And because of the properties of oil floats to the top, so it's very easy to just skim it off. And that's what you see these ladies doing here, is they very easily just skim the chili oil from the top, put it in a bucket, and they can take it back into the restaurant. In fact, you can see it over here, the restaurant workers, even wearing their uniforms, taking the used spit oil back into the restaurant to then be served to new customers that walk through the door. And it is disgusting. But we all know about this. I'm sure everybody is aware.
No, we're not fucking aware. Nobody knew about any of this shit. I knew some places were bad. I figured this was happening in very isolated cases, but holy shit, man. No. If the restaurant isn't 5-star and known and isn't owned by some chef that his reputation depends on the food being called, I'm not going out anymore. Can't trust. You can't trust fucking nobody. I'm telling you, you can't. This is why people who cook at home, people who cook for themselves are infinitely healthier than people who eat out. It's just, this is one of the reasons. You can't trust the ingredients they're using and where they came from. Why? Do you know how important food is in your life? It's the thing that gives you life. It's the thing that keeps you going. Why would you entrust a stranger with that shit? It's like critical for survival that you learn to cook for yourself. It's like not a question. It's not dude, living in the West and just being so used to handing over this power to somebody else is mind-blowing to me. Fuck, man. I mean, here in the West, dude, we had Flint, Michigan can't even produce quality water that you can drink. And this is in a Western country. Holy shit, dude. Don't trust anybody with anything. What the fuck? This is so disgusting.
Of the gutter oil problem in China and the spit oil problem in China. But the question is, why on...
Thanks for the 5 JDAs. Is that Loki want to try it? Looks tasty though. My ass, dude, looks tasty. What the
earth does it still persist to this day? Because this has been a problem for as long as I can remember. Even in the early days when I was in China, I was hearing about spittle oil and digoyo, gutter oil. And my Chinese friends would warn me about it, and people would talk about it, and it would be in the news, and there'd be a scandal where you find out that a whole chain of very good restaurants had been using gutter oil. And people,
you hear that? A chain of very good restaurants. This isn't some hole in the wall shit. This is a scandal because it's happening in places you would never expect. You would think these were quality locations. Because if they found out some fucking hole in the wall, garbage, rinky-dink, cockroaches are everywhere place was using spittle oil or this nasty gutter oil shit, nobody would bat an eyelash. They'd be like, yeah, bro, you don't go to the place that's infested with fucking bugs everywhere. The hole in the wall where the roof is collapsing. No shit, the food there is probably not good. It makes news because it's happening in places that are supposed to be good.
People would be arrested and so on. And in fact, the Chinese government even started to put very harsh penalties in place for gutter oil. At first, lengthy prison terms if you're caught selling it, and then later even the death penalty, which actually some people have been given the death penalty for selling and producing gutter oil. But the problem is, if you look up the cases, there are actually very few people that have actually been sentenced to death. And so this is the real reason why it still persists and has gotten worse. And that is, first of all, it's easy to get away with, all right? Very few people have been punished for this, even though it is a nationwide problem. When the crackdowns happen, they do happen, but then they're over fairly quickly and things resume as usual. But the biggest reason why gutter oil is still a big problem in China is that the economy is currently suffering big time. Now, what's the biggest way to make money in a poor economy? Well, it's to take shortcuts. Because everybody that makes money through food, which, the food industry is one of the biggest in China. Think about it. You've got all these mouths to feed. You've got all these restaurants.
That's the ancient Chinese secret. Holy shit, dude. Damien, thanks, brother. Been to 9 countries and I was told don't drink the water in Mexico unless it was bottled. Dude, this is how Planet Virus came about. No China stamp on my passport. Man, holy shit, dude. I haven't seen this. Just the title alone was so disgusting that I had to watch it. But holy crap. Wow. Tastes great. Woo-wee, dude. Secret ingredient, baby. That's what keeps you coming back. Golly. Yeah, despite having a death penalty, it still goes on, they say.
Restaurants everywhere. You've got all these little mom and pop side of the roads food stalls and so on. Everywhere you go in China, there's street food and restaurants, and it's cheap.
And you know what sucks, dude, on the other side of this? You're like a hardworking street vendor, and you take pride in your work, and your family's been in this business, and you really do got great ingredients, and you painstakingly make food for people every day, and that's your living. And then turds like this come into your industry with this gutter oil nonsense and absolutely destroy the reputation you've worked so hard to build up. And now people are fearful of eating from street vendors and your business goes crashing and you lose your livelihood. That sucks. That's what sucks the most. Damn, dude. It's rough.
To eat out in China. It's one of the things I loved about China the most is the fact that it actually worked out to be cheaper to go to a restaurant every single day for lunch and dinner than to cook at home for myself. That's just the nature of how China is.
Someone said, you think this is bad? You have people painting veggies to look fresh and ice cream that doesn't melt even when you take a blowtorch to it? What in the world?
Eating out is cheap. Of course, you can go to very expensive places if you like, but if you just go to your average everyday restaurant, you actually end up saving money. So these guys that have these food stalls outside, if they're going to go buy a thing of cooking oil to cook their stuff, they don't have a lot of profit margin. Remember, when they're selling their fried dish, whatever they're making, whether it's fried noodles or rice or whatever the case, their profit margins are so small that even 1 cent savings makes a difference. So the cooking oil is the core ingredient to everything that's cooked in China. Pretty much everything is fried in oil in China. The majority of foods. Of course, you do get steamed foods and a couple of other ways of cooking, but the majority of the food that you eat, the rice and the noodles and the vegetables, it's all stir-fried. It's all cooked in oil in a wok or whatever. So it's a core ingredient in cooking in China. So you have to use it, right? And if you're running a small little side-of-the-road food stall, the only way for you to actually make profit is to cut down your costs. And since that's your biggest consistent cost is the oil, go ahead and pay half or a quarter of what you would for real oil for the gutter oil. That's why it's so prolific. And then the restaurants Restaurants have to turn a profit. They're not making a huge profit off of their meals. They've got waiters to pay and waitresses to pay and so on. And so if they can cut down costs on their cooking oil, which is an ingredient that's used every day, all day in the restaurant, of course they're going to do it. Now, I'm not here to try and justify it. It's an abhorrent practice. It's terrible. But I'm explaining to you why it still persists to this day in China, and specifically now, because the economy in China is suffering a lot more than you would ever realize. I've been talking to a lot of my friends in China. Just remember, I lived in China for 40.
Yeah, their economy's about to be in shambles. They just had bankruptcy, right, with that largest real estate company. What was it? Evergreen or some shit. What is it called? They had a early bankruptcy, like they were the talk of the town, I don't know how many months ago. Evergreen, right? Yeah. Jeez, dude. Well, they just filed for bankruptcy, but I forgot what chapter it was. Either way, it's one of the chapters that doesn't allow Western, influence to look at the books truly on a deeper level. Like they can't get audited by the West. So Evergrande. Yeah, there we go. Again, it's just the good old hiding the actual problem and how deep it goes. We've heard about the Chinese cities, right? That they literally built up from scratch entire cities that people can't even live in because the construction doesn't get completed because there's not just enough funding. People are forced to pay with like vegetables and shit. It's wild what's going on over there. I don't know what's going on. I just know with the ghost towns and all that shit, it's going to come to an end very soon. And, the rest of the world's going to feel the pain.
18 years. I've got a lot of friends, ex-colleagues, people I've known for the longest time, old students and so on. And the younger people specifically are complaining about how the economy is really hurting at the moment. And it's not something you'll get through the news.
Yeah. Of course, because China's not going to report that, right? Let's look at something real quick. Chinese youth unemployment rate. That was the article I read. China suspends, look how bad the economy is doing. China suspends youth unemployment data after record high. Let's hide the numbers, why don't we? It says China stopped releasing youth unemployment figures, which were seen by some as a key indication of the country's slowdown. In June, the jobless rate for 16 and 24-year-olds in urban areas hit a record high of more than 20%. Shit, boys, the numbers are fucked. The economy, even worse. How are we gonna fix it? Oh, I know. Stop talking about it. Okay.
Perfect.
Economy is great, dude. What are you talking about? We got no problem. Fucking hell, dude. We are in a clown show. I'm telling you, it's worldwide clown. Golly.
Welcome.
It's not something that the Chinese government will ever admit. They just want you to believe that the GDP keeps going up and up and up. But it's actually far worse.
Someone said rich men of North China, baby.
Than you know. A lot of places were hit hard by COVID. A lot of businesses shut down permanently because of COVID. And a lot of the restaurants that managed to survive only managed to survive by cutting costs, like skimping on ingredients, buying lower quality stuff. And you see this across the board in China. Fake booze, fake vaccines, all sorts of horrible little shortcuts that lead to bad decisions that affect people's health. So that really is the reason why this gutter oil is not going to go away. And the gutter oil syndicates are more and more sophisticated than before. And if anyone tries to pretend as if it's being taken care of and that the government clamped down and it doesn't exist anymore, that's bullshit. Because not only is this footage that I'm showing you recent, but I filmed a lot of it myself.
Oh, no.
I filmed this stuff with my own eyes. Now, if me, just a single individual walking around in the streets of China and specifically...
Bro, nobody's calling the cops on this dude. He's just out in the open scooping shit up in a bucket. People just, whatever, NPC. They're walking around just like this. We see it happening around us. The guy is scooping up sewer oil. And we're going to go to a restaurant a block down and eat this shit. Wow, dude, NPCville out there in Asia, eh? Holy crap. Look at that. My man's this is the audacity, bro, to do this out in the open. He didn't secretly sneak this shit at night when everybody's asleep. There's no traffic. My man is out here in the open and not a goddamn nobody's gonna tell him shit. Look at him.
Living in one of the best, most prosperous, biggest, brightest cities of China, Shenzhen. If I saw it on a regular basis, so much so that I've got footage that I filmed myself and something that I would be commonly just scoffing at and saying, oh, there we go.
Oh my God.
gutter oil again. If I, as a single individual, could see that, just imagine how widespread it is across the country. And I mean, these clips that you see here are a bit of an indication as to how widespread it is. So much like the gutter oil is in the sewer, in the toilet, so is the Chinese economy. And this is a great indicator.
Holy shit.
I hope you learned something.
Wow. Someone said, bro, they don't know what he's actually doing. What the fuck?
And something that I would be commonly just scoffing at and saying, oh, there we go.
You don't know what? Look, bro, he's got a thing. He's scooping some shit up in a bucket. Look at how he's dressed. He's not like official government. He doesn't have a pump running down there to unclog some shit. My man has a little scooper, a tin scooper, putting shit in a bucket. Where do you think this dude's gonna go? This looks like he's cleaning. You think he's making a dent? Your first thought walking by this is, dude's cleaning sewers. This is what cleaning sewers looks like to you? Have you not walked by a fucking giant machine with a giant pump strapped to a big ass car that gets put down in the sewer to suck up the shit with I don't know how many hundreds of horsepower? You haven't ever seen that happen. You think this bro right here, this single man, is going by one manhole and just cleaning it himself? This is what cleaning looks like. These are government agencies that work here. This is how cities are maintained. One lone man just scooping some shit up in a single bucket with nowhere to dump the stuff from the bucket from. Where's this bucket getting dumped at? Are you kidding me? This is why we're lost in the West. We got literally NPCs in the chat talking about, it looks like he's cleaning shit, bro.
Oh my God.
Fuck, dude. Wow.
Bruh.
Wow, dude. No brains. No brains. As our chat just showed, that people just literally using no brains. I mean, even this dude right here, he has a brain. He's filming. Look, this dude right here is filming the gutter oil shit and sending it to the boys going, yo, just filmed another old dude with gutter oil shit. You see? There we go. Unbelievable. Yes, he's going to carry this full bucket of shit somewhere to dump it where? We're fucked. We're done. People here have no common sense and brains. Holy hell. Okay.